I stood in my garage that Saturday morning, March 23rd, surrounded by towers of Christmas decoration boxes that we should have put away months ago. The Pacific Northwest spring light filtered through the dusty window, casting long shadows across the concrete floor I'd sealed myself 3 summers back. That's when I found them. 2 wine glasses tucked behind the box labeled Xmas Lights, Front Yard, in Claire's neat handwriting. The first glass caught the light, and I recognized it immediately. Riedel Crystal from the Vinum collection. We'd registered for these when we got married 15 years ago, only received 4 place settings, and saved them for our most special occasions. The lipstick mark on the rim was unmistakably Claire's shade, Mac Rebel, the purple-toned pink she'd worn exclusively for the past 5 years. Nathan? You finding everything okay in there? Claire's voice drifted from the kitchen, carrying over the sound of her Saturday morning playlist. John Mayer, as always. Yeah, just organizing, I called back, turning the second glass in my hand. My thumb found a smudge near the base, the kind fingers leave when gripping during animated conversation. Or during something else entirely. We'd agreed to finally tackle the garage for spring cleaning. Claire had been pushing for it since February, claiming we needed to declutter our lives. Funny how the most mundane tasks can upend your entire world. The glasses shouldn't have been here. They belonged in the china cabinet with the rest of our wedding crystal, or at worst, waiting in the dishwasher for Sunday's wash cycle. But here they sat, hidden like guilty secrets behind decorations that symbolized family and celebration. I reached deeper into the corner, my hand brushing against unfamiliar fabric. A jacket. Columbia brand, men's large, the kind of technical outdoor gear that REI sells for small fortunes. I pulled it out, examining the steel gray fabric with its waterproof zippers and ergonomic design. Not my style. I was a Microsoft engineer. My wardrobe consisted of company hoodies and conference t-shirts. And definitely not my size. At 6'2", with the broad shoulders of someone who spent weekends building furniture, I wore XL exclusively. The jacket smelled wrong. I brought it to my nose, catching cologne that wasn't mine, something expensive with notes of bergamot and cedar. My cologne came from Target, $15 a bottle, because who was I trying to impress after 15 years of marriage? Hon, I'm making coffee. Want some? Claire again, her voice carrying that Saturday morning cheerfulness she wore like armor. Sure, I managed, my voice surprisingly steady. 20 years in software architecture had trained me to remain calm during system failures. This felt like a critical error in my life's operating system. I patted down the jacket methodically, finding the receipt in an inner pocket. REI flagship store, Bellevue, dated January 15th, exactly 3 months ago. $289 paid in cash. My mind immediately began debugging. Wrong size, wrong style, hidden location, recent purchase, cash transaction to avoid credit card trail. In the corner trash bin, buried beneath sawdust from last month's bookshelf project and wood scraps, I discovered the supporting evidence. A wine cork and empty bottle. Caymus Cabernet Sauvignon, 2019 vintage. $90 at Total Wine, I knew because I'd bought 3 bottles last Christmas for aging. We kept them for special occasions, or had kept them. My mental inventory said we should have 4 bottles left. I'd need to verify. Coffee's ready. Claire's voice pulled me back. The same voice that had said, I do, at the altar. That had whispered, I love you every night for 15 years. That had cried with joy when we'd finally saved enough for this house. I photographed everything with my phone, the glasses, the jacket, the receipt, the wine bottle, then replaced each item exactly as I'd found it. The wine glasses went into a plastic Ziploc bag, which I tucked behind my DeWalt tool chest. The jacket I hung casually on a hook near my workbench, as if it had always belonged there, just another piece of forgotten gear in a suburban garage. Emerging from the garage, I carried a box of Easter decorations as my alibi. Claire stood at our kitchen island in her weekend uniform, black yoga pants and an oversized Microsoft t-shirt she'd stolen from my dresser years ago. Her auburn hair was twisted up in the messy bun she always wore on cleaning days, and reading glasses perched on her nose as she scrolled through something on her laptop. "Find anything interesting in there?" she asked, sliding a mug across the granite countertop we'd splurged on during last year's renovation. "Just the usual. Might donate some of this stuff." I wrapped my hands around the mug, letting the warmth anchor me to normalcy. The coffee was perfect. She always made it exactly how I liked it. 2 sugars, splash of cream. "Good idea. That garage is getting cluttered." She turned back to her laptop, fingers clicking across keys. "I've got about 30 essays to grade this weekend. The joys of teaching The Great Gatsby to teenagers who think Instagram stories are literature." I forced a laugh. "Speaking of stories, any luck finding that wine we were saving? Wanted to check our inventory." Her fingers never paused on the keyboard. "Oh, I took a bottle to book club last month. Deb especially loved it. Said it was the best wine she'd ever tasted." Deb, Deborah Patterson, who'd been sober for 5 years after her DUI nearly killed a family, who everyone knew didn't drink, who specifically requested book club remain alcohol-free. The lie was so brazen, so unnecessary that it took my breath away. "That's great," I heard myself say. "Glad they enjoyed it." Saturday afternoon passed in a blur of domestic tasks. Claire graded papers at the kitchen table, occasionally sharing particularly amusing student interpretations of Fitzgerald. I retreated to my home office, ostensibly to review code, but actually to access our Nest security system. I'd installed the cameras myself 2 years ago after a string of package thefts in the neighborhood. 6 cameras total: front door, back door, driveway, garage, and 2 interior cameras covering the main living spaces. The app loaded with familiar efficiency on my laptop, displaying live feeds from each camera. The garage camera should have contained months of routine footage: me entering and leaving for work, Claire grabbing gardening supplies, the occasional Amazon delivery. Instead, I found gaps. Not random outages or system glitches, but surgical removals of time. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the past 4 months. The pattern was perfect, too perfect to be technical failure. I cross-referenced with my Outlook calendar. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons were my standing architecture review meetings at the Redmond campus. Never missed, never rescheduled. Claire knew this. She'd complained about these meetings often enough. Why do they always schedule the important stuff when I want to have lunch with my husband? But the real revelation came when I checked which cameras went offline. Only the garage and back door, the cameras covering our rear entrance and my workshop space. The front door and driveway cameras remained operational, still recording every passing dog walker and delivery truck. Someone had learned our system's blind spots. Someone had gotten comfortable enough to create a routine. My fingers flew across the keyboard, diving into our router logs. The IT expertise that Microsoft paid me $350,000 a year for wasn't just helpful here, it was essential. The cameras hadn't failed. They'd been manually disconnected from our Wi-Fi network at 12:58 p.m. and reconnected at 5:02 p.m. with clockwork precision. The MAC addresses confirmed it. Someone had used the Nest app to disable specific cameras while leaving others running. More coffee? Claire appeared in the doorway, empty mug in hand. I quickly switched to my code editor. "I'm good, thanks. How are the essays?" "Painful. I swear these kids think SparkNotes is actual literary analysis." She leaned against the doorframe. "I might take a break and go for a run. Want to join?" "Since when do you run?" "Started a couple months ago. New Year's resolution finally sticking." She patted her flat stomach. "Gotta keep up with all those young teachers at school." Another lie? Another truth? I couldn't tell anymore. Maybe next time. Need to finish this code review. Your loss. She kissed the top of my head, her lips warm against my scalp. Love you. Love you too. The words felt different now, like counterfeit bills passed between strangers. Sunday brought new intelligence. While Claire slept in, she always slept late on Sundays, one of the small intimacies you learn after years of marriage, I conducted a thorough audit. First, the wine collection in our basement. We'd converted a corner into a temperature-controlled storage area, my birthday gift to Claire 5 years ago when she'd gotten into wine collecting. The Camus section told a clear story. We'd bought 6 bottles last Christmas, 2 drunk on New Year's Eve and our anniversary. 4 should remain. Only 1 lonely bottle stood in the rack. 3 missing at $90 each. $270 in wine, vanished like our camera's footage. Our joint credit card statements, easily accessed through our shared banking app, showed no wine purchases in the past 3 months. But Claire's personal checking, the account she used for her fun money from tutoring, revealed a pattern of ATM withdrawals. $50 here, $100 there, always on Mondays. Cash for wine, cash for discretion? Cash for what? The Sunday paper lay on our front porch, delivered by the same kid who'd been tossing it there for 3 years. Claire made French toast while I pretended to read about Seattle's housing market. We ate on the back deck despite the morning chill, discussing plans for summer vacation. I was thinking Hawaii, she suggested, maple syrup glistening on her lips. We haven't been since our 10th anniversary. Sounds perfect. I watched her eat, memorizing the way she cut her toast into perfect triangles, the way she always saved the corner piece for last. Maybe August, after my project deadline? It's a date. She reached across the table, laced her fingers through mine. Her wedding ring caught the morning light. 2 carats, princess cut, the upgrade I'd surprised her with 5 years ago. I love you, Nathan Brooks. I love you too, Claire Brooks. But did I? Did she? When had loving someone become so complicated? Monday morning arrived with typical Seattle drizzle. I dressed for work automatically. Jeans, Microsoft hoodie, the uniform of a senior engineer. Claire was already in the kitchen, packing her lunch for school. Running late? I asked, noting her hurried movements. Faculty meeting before first period. Discussion about prom chaperoning. She rolled her eyes. Because nothing says fun Friday night like watching teenagers grind to music that makes me feel ancient. You're not ancient. You're distinguished. Flatterer. She kissed me goodbye, her lips tasting of coffee and lies. Have a good day. Try not to break the internet. That was one time, and it was just the Pacific Northwest region. Her laugh followed me to the garage. My garage. My sanctuary that someone had violated. At work, I found myself studying the relationships around me with new eyes. Jim from my team, married 25 years, still brought his wife flowers every Friday. Sarah, our project manager, recently engaged, couldn't stop smiling at her ring. Were they real? Were they performing? Was everyone acting in a play I'd only just realized was fiction? Earth to Nathan. Tom Martinez, my closest friend at Microsoft, waved a hand in front of my face. You okay? You've been staring at that screen for 10 minutes without typing. Sorry, just thinking through a problem. The Peterson build? I thought we solved the database issue. Different kind of problem. I minimized my code window. Hey, random question. You still use that REI in Bellevue? Sure, all the time. Bought my camping gear there last month. Why? Thinking about getting into hiking. Maybe need some gear. Nathan Brooks, outdoorsman? He laughed, the sound echoing through our open office. This I gotta see. They've got great security in their parking lot now, by the way. After those car break-ins last year, they installed cameras everywhere. Security cameras. Of course. Tuesday arrived with purpose. I left for work at my usual 7:30, kissing Claire goodbye at the door like any other day. Long day today? She asked, still in her robe, coffee mug warming her hands. Back-to-back meetings until 5. Architecture review for the Peterson project. I adjusted my laptop bag. You? Just grading. Might do some yoga later. That new studio on Main is having a special. Have fun. Don't pull anything. I'll try to contain my athletic prowess. Another kiss. Another performance. Love you. Love you too. But Tuesday wasn't typical. I'd cleared my calendar, told my team I'd be in deep coding mode and not to disturb me. Instead of driving to campus, I went to the Bellevue REI. The flagship store sat like a monument to Pacific Northwest outdoor culture, all glass and reclaimed wood and aspirational lifestyle displays. The security office was tucked behind customer service. I'd rehearsed my story during the drive. Hi, I'm hoping you can help me, I began, channeling my most responsible citizen voice. My wife's car was damaged in your parking lot about 3 months ago, January 15th, actually. The insurance company needs the footage for our claim. The security guard, a guy about my age with the weathered look of someone who actually used the gear REI sold, looked sympathetic. 3 months is pushing it. We typically keep footage for 90 days. Then it auto-deletes. I know it's a long shot. Red Honda Accord, probably early afternoon. He clicked through his system. What time frame are we looking at? Between 1 and 3 p.m.? She was shopping for... I pretended to think. Running gear, I believe. Let me check. Okay, January 15th. Still in the system. You're lucky. It's set to delete end of week. He pulled up the footage on his monitor. Red Honda. There we go. This it? I leaned forward, heart hammering. There was Claire's car, unmistakable with its Bellevue School District faculty parking sticker. She emerged from the driver's side, and my breath caught. She wasn't alone. A tall man unfolded from the passenger seat, athletic build, dark hair, the kind of naturally confident posture that came from knowing your place in the world. They walked toward the store together, not touching, but clearly together. The space between them crackled with intimate awareness, the kind couples have when they're hyper-conscious of not appearing like couples. That your wife? The guard asked. Yeah, that's her. Who's the guy? Witness, maybe. Maybe. I pulled out my phone, pretending to check something while actually photographing the monitor. Could I get a copy of this? For the insurance? Sure thing. Just need you to fill out a request form. I can burn it to a USB drive. 20 minutes later, I sat in my car in the REI parking lot, USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. The man's profile had been partially visible in the footage. Familiar, but I couldn't place him. Tall, maybe 6 feet, athletic build that suggested regular gym time rather than weekend warrior status. The way he moved reminded me of someone, but the connection wouldn't come. I drove to a Starbucks, ordered a coffee I didn't want, and opened my laptop. The footage played in perfect detail. I watched them exit the car 3 times, studied their body language, the easy familiarity between them. Claire's smile was different, not the practiced one she gave to colleagues or parents at school events, but something unguarded and genuine. The timestamp read 1:47 p.m., a Tuesday, when she should have been home grading papers. Wednesday cracked the case wide open. I'd started jogging in the mornings, claiming I needed exercise to match Claire's newfound fitness enthusiasm. Really, I was mapping the neighborhood with fresh eyes, noting routines and patterns I'd ignored for years. That's when I saw him. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, running past with the easy stride of someone for whom fitness was religion rather than resolution. He waved as he approached, white teeth flashing in a familiar smile. Nathan, Didn't know you were a runner. I stopped, bending over and pretending to catch my breath while my mind raced. Marcus. Of course. Orthopedic surgeon at UW Medical Center. Divorced 6 months ago, moved into the Craftsman 3 houses down. Always borrowing tools. Always knowing when I was traveling. Just starting, I panted. You make it look easy. Years of practice. Helps clear the head, you know. He jogged in place, barely breathing hard despite what must have been several miles. Hey, I've been meaning to ask, could I borrow your circular saw this weekend? Finally getting around to building those shelves. The circular saw I'd used to build Claire's garden beds. The shelves he'd been planning for months. Sure, no problem. Just swing by whenever. Thanks, neighbor. Claire mentioned you had quite the tool collection. Said you built most of your furniture? Claire mentioned. When had they discussed my tools? When had my wife and this man had conversations about my hobbies? Built our whole bedroom set, I said, straightening up. Coffee table, too. Impressive. Maybe you could give me some pointers sometime. I'm hopeless with woodworking. Hopeless with woodworking, but not with other things, apparently. Anytime. I forced a smile. Better keep moving before I cramp up. Good thinking. See you Saturday for the saw? See you then. He sprinted away, all lean muscle and cardiovascular superiority. I walked home slowly, pieces clicking into place like code debugging itself. Marcus Rodriguez. 6 feet tall, athletic build, large jacket size. Recently divorced. Lives close enough to walk over. The kind of guy who shopped at REI, who wore expensive cologne, who brought bottles of wine to neighborhood gatherings. The kind of guy wives noticed. Back home, I stood in my garage, trying to see it through their eyes. My sanctuary had become their hideaway. The workbench where I'd built our life had become their bar. The tools I'd collected over years of creating furniture for our home hung on pegboard walls that had witnessed their secret toasts. The violation felt personal beyond the obvious betrayal. This was my space. The one room in the house that was purely mine, where sawdust and possibilities mingled, where I solved problems with hand tools instead of keyboards. She'd given them this space, given him access to my sanctuary. The jacket on the hook had to be his, mocked me with its presence. Now I recognized the cologne. I'd smelled it when Marcus borrowed my drill last month, when he'd returned my level 2 weeks ago, when he'd stood too close at the last neighborhood barbecue. Thursday afternoon, I prepared my trap. A fictitious conference in Las Vegas, announced over dinner. Next Tuesday through Thursday, I told Claire, showing her the registration email I'd carefully crafted using Inspect Element to modify a real conference page. Peterson Project final presentation. The whole team has to go. Oh, that's sudden. Something flickered across her face. Disappointment? Calculation? Will you miss the Ferguson barbecue? Unfortunately, you'll have to make my excuses. I'm sure they'll understand. She twirled pasta on her fork, a casual gesture that seemed forced. Maybe I'll have Julia over for girls' night. We've been meaning to catch up. Julia lived in Portland. They hadn't spoken in 2 years, but I nodded. Good idea. Open that wine you've been saving. Exactly what I was thinking. We watched Netflix after dinner, her head on my shoulder, my arm around her automatically. 15 years of marriage had created these reflexes, where to rest my hand, how she liked to tuck her feet under my leg, the way she'd absently play with my wedding ring while we watched. What are we watching? I asked during a commercial break. That new show about the couple having an affair. The irony was suffocating. Any good? The husband's an idiot. So many obvious signs. She shifted against me. In real life, people always know. They just pretend not to see. My heart hammered. Was this confession? Warning? Or just commentary on a badly written show? Maybe he trusts his wife, I suggested. Maybe. She was quiet for a moment. Trust is everything in a marriage. Yes, I agreed. It is. Friday's trip to Best Buy felt like crossing a Rubicon. The sales kid, barely old enough to shave, enthusiastically showed me their selection of hidden cameras. This one's our best seller, he said, holding up a device no bigger than a USB charger. Wi-Fi enabled, motion activated, cloud storage included. Lots of people use them for nanny cams. What about garage security? Perfect for that. Weather resistant, night vision, wide angle lens. You worried about break-ins? Something like that. I bought the camera with cash, along with a new external hard drive and some cable management supplies to justify the trip. The installation would have to wait until Claire's Saturday yoga class, the real one. I'd verified the studio schedule online. Saturday morning arrived gray and damp, Seattle showing its typical spring mood swings. Claire left for yoga at 9:30, kissing me goodbye with minty breath and lycra-clad enthusiasm. Sure you don't want to come? First class is free. My hamstrings would never forgive me. I'll stick to running. Your loss. Back by 11. She grabbed her mat and water bottle, ponytail swinging as she headed to her car. I waited 5 minutes, then got to work. The camera installation took less than 30 minutes. I positioned it behind paint cans on an upper shelf, angled to capture the garage entrance and most of the floor space. Separate from our Nest system, invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. The app on my phone showed a crystal clear view of my domain. By the time Claire returned, glowing with post-yoga endorphins, I was innocently organizing my socket wrenches. Good class? I asked, noting the sheen of actual sweat on her forehead. So she had gone to yoga. The truth mixed with lies made everything more confusing. Brutal. The instructor seems to think we're all circus performers. She grabbed a water bottle from the garage fridge. When had we started keeping water in here? What are you up to? Just puttering. Thinking about building a new bookshelf for your classroom. You're sweet. She kissed my cheek. But focus on the Peterson project first. I know it's been stressing you out. The Peterson project had been done for 2 weeks, but I nodded. You're right. Maybe after Vegas. After Vegas, she agreed. Sunday passed in forced normalcy. Farmer's market in the morning, where we bought too many tomatoes and pretended to be the perfect couple among other perfect couples. Afternoon spent washing cars in the driveway, Claire in cut-off shorts, and one of my old t-shirts, looking like the college girl I'd fallen in love with 20 years ago. Remember when we first met? She asked, spraying suds off the Honda. You offered to wash my car because mine was so dirty. Worst pickup line ever, but it worked. Only because I thought you were cute. She turned the hose on me playfully. Still do. Even with the gray hair? Distinguished. Very George Clooney. Clooney's got nothing on me. We laughed, chased each other around the cars like kids, ended up soaked and breathless. For a moment, it felt real. For a moment, I forgot about wine glasses and hidden jackets and Tuesday afternoon gaps in footage. That night, as she slept beside me, one hand on my chest in sleep's unconscious intimacy, I stared at the ceiling and wondered, was any of it real? The laughter, the memories, the casual touches? Or was I just the stable husband, the safe choice, while Marcus was the excitement she craved? Monday night brought the performance of packing for Vegas. Claire helped, suggesting shirts, reminding me about travel-sized toiletries, playing the supportive wife to perfection. Don't forget your good jeans. You know they always have that fancy dinner. Already packed. I zipped the suitcase with finality. All set. Text me when you land, and don't let Tom drag you to those horrible clubs. Tom's wife would kill him. We'll probably just hit the sports book and pretend we understand betting. Such wild men. She wrapped her arms around me from behind. I'll miss you. It's only 3 days. Still, her voice was muffled against my back. The bed's too big without you. But apparently not too big for Marcus, I thought. Tuesday morning came too soon and not soon enough. Claire saw me to the door in her teaching clothes, pencil skirt, conservative blouse, the professional armor of a high school English teacher. "Knock 'em dead," she said, straightening my collar unnecessarily. "Always do." I pulled her close, memorizing the smell of her shampoo, the feel of her body against mine. "Love you, Claire. Love you too. Safe travels." The Uber driver chatted about construction traffic as we headed to SeaTac. I responded on autopilot, watching familiar neighborhoods pass by. Each street held memories: the restaurant where we'd celebrated her getting tenure, the park where we'd talked about starting a family before discovering we couldn't, the coffee shop where we'd spent Sunday mornings before life got complicated. At the airport, I made a show of checking in, even took a selfie at the gate to send to Claire. "Boarding soon. Talk tonight. Safe flight." Her response came immediately, followed by a gif of a plane taking off. But I didn't board. I caught a different Uber to downtown Bellevue, checked into a Marriott day room under my corporate card. The room was sterile, anonymous, perfect for what came next. I set up my laptop, connected to the garage camera feed, and waited. 12:45 p.m. Claire's Honda pulled into the driveway. She entered the house. 12:58 p.m. The Nest cameras went offline, right on schedule. 1:17 p.m. Garage door opened. My hidden camera captured everything in HD clarity. Marcus's BMW pulled in slowly, cautiously. He knew the routine now, comfortable in my space. Claire appeared in frame wearing the sundress I'd bought her for Christmas. Red with small white flowers, the one that made her legs look impossibly long. She closed the garage door behind him with practiced efficiency. They embraced immediately, hungry, desperate, like lovers who'd been apart for months, not days. "God, I missed you," Marcus said, hands tangling in her hair, messing the professional bun she'd worn that morning. "Tuesday felt like forever," she replied, already breathless. "I hate when we can't meet." They kissed again, deeper this time. I forced myself to watch, to record, to document every second. This was evidence. This was proof. This was my marriage ending in real time. Claire pulled away, laughing, and produced wine glasses from behind my toolbox. The Riedel crystal, of course. A bottle appeared from the same hiding spot. Camus, naturally. "You remembered," Marcus said, watching her pour. "How could I forget? It's our wine now." She handed him a glass, raised her own. "What should we toast to?" "To 3 beautiful months," he suggested. "And many more." "To many more," she echoed. They clinked glasses, the crystal singing a note I'd heard at our wedding, at anniversaries, at celebrations of a life I thought we'd built together. "When do you think we should tell him?" Marcus asked, settling onto my workbench stool, comfortable as if he belonged there. "After your settlement finalizes, like we discussed." Claire perched on the workbench itself, bare legs swinging like a teenager. "No point complicating things now." "I hate the sneaking around." "I know, baby." She ran her fingers through his hair. "But it's worth it, right? We're worth it?" "You know we are." He pulled her closer. "I love you, Claire." "I love you too." The words hit like physical blows. Love. They were in love. This wasn't just sex, just adventure, just midlife crisis. They were planning a future. A future that didn't include me. I closed the laptop, unable to watch more. 90 minutes of footage already saved to the cloud. More than enough for any lawyer, any judge, any future version of myself who might doubt what I'd seen. In the hotel room, I lay on the sterile bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across town, my wife was in my garage with another man, toasting to their beautiful months with my crystal glasses, planning their future in my sanctuary. The minibar beckoned, but I didn't move. I needed clarity, not numbness. Needed to think, to plan. to process the complete destruction of everything I'd believed true. My phone buzzed. Claire, texting between her activities. Hope the flight was good. Miss you already? I stared at the words, at the kissing emoji she'd sent while probably still tasting Marcus's lips. The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. Landed safe, I typed back. In meetings now. Talk later. Love you. Did she? Had she ever? Or was I just the safe choice, the stable provider, the one who built furniture and fixed problems and never suspected his wife was building a new life in his own garage? Wednesday morning's return required Oscar-worthy performance. I'd rehearsed my food poisoning story during the sleepless night, even induced some believable pallor by skipping breakfast. Oh, honey! Claire's concern seemed genuine when I stumbled through the door at 10 a.m. Why didn't you call? I would have picked you up from the airport. Didn't want to bother you. Just need to lie down. I let her guide me to the couch, playing up the misery. Conference was a disaster anyway. Half the team got sick. Must have been the hotel food. Vegas is notorious for that. She felt my forehead with cool fingers, the same fingers that had run through Marcus's hair yesterday. No fever. Probably just food poisoning. Let me get you some ginger ale. She fussed over me, bringing blankets, crackers, switching between Nurse Claire and worried wife Claire with seamless transitions. Her phone buzzed constantly. Every time she'd glance at it, flip it face down, then return to tending me. Someone's popular today, I observed. Just Julia. I told her about girls' night and now she's sending me wine recommendations. The lie came so easily. You know how she gets about her wines. Julia, who lived in Portland. Julia, who preferred beer. Julia, the perfect alibi who'd never contradict because they never talked. Tell her I said hi. Will do. Now rest. I'm going to run to the pharmacy, get you something for your stomach. The moment her car left the driveway, I tested my trap. Retrieved Marcus's jacket from the garage, draped it over a kitchen chair. Small test, but telling. How would she explain it? What lie would she craft? 20 minutes later, she returned with a bag from CVS, stopped short at the kitchen entrance. Oh, where did that come from? Found it in the garage last weekend. Meant to ask you, maybe from the Christmas party? Probably. She moved it to the coat closet quickly, efficiently. I'll ask around the neighborhood. Sure you will, I thought. Ask Marcus if he wants his jacket back. The one he left in our garage, in my garage. Thursday brought the wine test over breakfast. I'd recovered enough to manage toast and coffee. Hey, were we saving those Camus bottles for something special? I asked casually, spreading jam with steady hands. Oh, I took them to book club. You know how Deb loves good wine. She said it was the best she'd ever had. The lie was so brazen, I almost laughed. Deb Patterson, 5 years sober. Deb who hosted book club specifically as an alcohol-free zone. Deb who'd shared her story at neighborhood gatherings about how a wine-tasting trip to Napa had nearly killed a family of 4. That's great, I managed. Glad they enjoyed it. You don't mind? I know they were pricey. What's mine is yours. The words tasted like ash. Friday afternoon found me in the offices of Fitzgerald, Brennan and Associates, Seattle's premier divorce attorneys. Alan Fitzgerald himself, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, reviewed my evidence with professional interest. The hidden camera footage is particularly damning, he said, making notes on a legal pad. Washington is a no-fault state, but infidelity still impacts asset division. Especially with the financial component, using marital assets for the affair. Is the recording legal? It's my garage, but your property, your garage, completely admissible. You had reasonable expectation to monitor your own space. He leaned back in his leather chair. The timing with your RSUs is interesting. When do they vest? April 15th, $400,000 worth. His smile was predatory. And if you file after they vest? They become community property. Exactly. But if we time this right, file the Monday after vesting, those shares remain primarily yours. Legal separation begins immediately upon filing. We spent 2 hours crafting strategy. The house would likely go to Claire. Washington favored keeping teachers in their homes. But with the mortgage, she'd struggle on her salary alone. The retirement accounts could be protected. The cars divided. The life we'd built together itemized and distributed like assets in a failed startup. What about alimony? I asked. Limited. She has a career, steady income. The infidelity helps here. Judges don't look kindly on spouses who use marital assets to fund affairs. He closed my file. My advice? Document everything, keep playing the unsuspecting husband, and start moving your personal items out gradually. How long do I have to pretend? 3 weeks until your vesting date. Can you manage that? 3 weeks of sleeping beside her. 3 weeks of good morning kisses and how was your day conversations. 3 weeks of pretending my world hadn't shattered in my own garage. I can manage. The next 3 weeks passed in surreal normalcy. Claire maintained her Tuesday-Thursday schedule with religious dedication. I pretended not to notice. Marcus borrowed my power drill, my socket set, my trust. I handed over each tool with a smile, making small talk about his shelving project that never seemed to progress. You're such a good neighbor, Claire said one evening as Marcus left with my cordless sander. What are neighbors for? I replied, wondering if she could hear the irony. She kissed my cheek. You're one of the good ones, Nathan Brooks. I'm lucky to have you. Lucky. As if our marriage was a lottery she'd won. As if 15 years together was just chance, not choice, not work, not the countless small decisions that built a life. But maybe it was chance. Maybe I was just the safe bet she'd placed while waiting for the real prize to move in 3 houses down. April 15th came with spring sunshine, rare for Seattle. My RSUs vested at market open. $400,000 in Microsoft stock, now legally mine. I watched the numbers update in my brokerage account while Claire made breakfast, humming off-key to her morning playlist. Big day? She asked, setting a plate of eggs in front of me. Just another Monday. I pulled her onto my lap, surprising her. But you know what? We should celebrate this weekend. Have a barbecue. Invite the whole neighborhood. That's a wonderful idea. Her face lit up with genuine pleasure. It's been ages since we entertained. I'll make my potato salad. And I'll smoke ribs. We'll do it right. Saturday? Saturday. She kissed me, tasting of coffee and enthusiasm. I love when you're spontaneous. If only she knew. The week of preparation flew by. Claire threw herself into party planning with infectious energy. Lists appeared on every surface. Food to buy, people to invite, drinks to stock. She cleaned with manic precision, even tackling the garage. Don't want people thinking we're slobs, she said, organizing the very corner where she'd hidden wine glasses. I watched her work, noting the care she took to arrange things naturally. Covering tracks? Or just Claire being Claire, the perfectionist who'd color-coded our spice rack? Make sure to invite Marcus, I said casually. Haven't seen much of him lately. Oh, good thinking. He's been so down since the divorce. She didn't meet my eyes. It would be nice to include him. Nice. Including her lover in our neighborhood gathering. The audacity was almost admirable. Saturday arrived perfect. Clear skies, 70 degrees, the kind of Seattle day that made you forget 9 months of rain. I started the smoker early, filling the air with hickory and anticipation. Claire bustled between kitchen and patio, arranging plates, adjusting flowers, creating the perfect backdrop for suburban entertainment or suburban destruction. It all depended on perspective. Neighbors began arriving at 4. The Johnsons from across the street, retirees who'd lived here 30 years. The Patel family from the corner, kids already eyeing the dessert table. Susan and Mike from 2 doors down, Still newlyweds after 3 years, still holding hands. Marcus arrived at 4:30, fashionably late, bottle of wine in hand. "Hey, neighbor!" He handed me the bottle with a smile that seemed forced around the edges. "Thanks for the invite." I glanced at the label. Caymus Cabernet. Of course. "Wouldn't be a party without you." I clapped his shoulder, felt him tense slightly. "Claire's been looking forward to this all week." "Has she?" Something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, anticipation, fear? Absolutely. "She's in the kitchen if you want to say hi." I watched him navigate through the crowd, noting how his path curved naturally toward Claire. How she sensed his approach without looking. How they maintained careful distance while every cell in their bodies leaned together. By 6, the party was in full swing. 23 neighbors by my count, kids included. Perfect audience size. I'd tended the smoker with obsessive care, producing ribs that earned genuine praise. Claire circulated with appetizers, playing hostess while sneaking glances at Marcus, who'd positioned himself by the beer cooler where he could watch her. "Nathan, these ribs are incredible." Julie from 2 blocks over gushed. "What's your secret?" "All in the rub," I said, checking my watch. 6:15, almost time. "And patience. Good things come to those who wait." The doorbell rang at 6:20, punctual. I'd paid extra for specific timing. "I'll get it," I announced, wiping my hands on my apron. "Everyone keep eating." The process server stood on my porch in an ill-fitting suit, looking uncomfortable. Behind him, I could see a sedan with another man waiting, backup in case things went badly. "Claire Brooks?" he asked quietly. "She's in the backyard. This way." I led him through our house, past the gallery wall of vacation photos that would soon be divided property. Past the kitchen where Claire had made thousands of meals. Past the life we'd built together. The backyard chatter continued, oblivious. I caught Claire's eye, gestured her over. "Yeah?" She approached, wine glass in hand. Regular glass, I noted, not the Riedel. The process server stepped forward. "Claire Brooks?" "Yes." "You've been served." He handed her the envelope, nodded professionally, and retreated. The party noise continued for a beat before people noticed Claire's frozen expression. She stared at the envelope like it contained anthrax. "Everything okay?" Susan asked. Claire opened the envelope with trembling fingers. I watched her scan the first page, saw the exact moment she reached Marcus's name in the filing. Her eyes flew to him, then to me, horror dawning. "Nathan?" Her voice came out strangled. "Oh, before I forget," I said, pulling out my phone. "Found some interesting security footage I wanted to share. Been having issues with the garage camera." I'd already connected my laptop to the outdoor TV we used for football games. One click, and the footage began playing on the 55-inch screen. Crystal clear HD, Claire and Marcus embracing in my garage. "God, I missed you!" Marcus's recorded voice boomed through the outdoor speakers. "Tuesday felt like forever," Claire's response followed. The party went silent. 23 pairs of eyes swiveled between the screen and the live performers. On screen, the lovers toasted to their 3 beautiful months. Marcus moved first, setting down his beer and walking quickly toward the side gate. Not quite running, but close. "Marcus, wait." Claire started after him. "I think you should both leave," I said calmly. The footage continued. Their discussion of when to tell me. The casual use of baby. The planning of a future that erased me. "Turn it off!" Claire hissed. "Nathan, please!" Just wanted everyone to understand the context. I paused the video. "Ribs are ready, everyone. Please, help yourselves." No one moved toward the food. "You planned this," Claire said, mascara beginning to run. "You actually planned this." "I planned a barbecue. You planned an affair." I kept my voice level, reasonable. "I just thought our friends deserved transparency." "Our friends?" She gestured wildly at the frozen audience. "You humiliated me in front of everyone!" "No, Claire. You humiliated yourself? I just provided documentation. She stood in the center of our yard, designer sundress wrinkled, carefully styled hair disheveled, holding divorce papers while our neighbors watched like rubberneckers at a highway accident. I'm sorry, someone murmured. The Johnsons, gathering their things. We should go. It was like a dam breaking. Suddenly, everyone was moving, collecting children, making excuses, fleeing the scene of suburban destruction. Within 20 minutes, our backyard was empty except for Claire and me and the ghost of our marriage. How could you? She asked, sinking into a patio chair. How could I? I laughed, harsh and bitter. How could you? In my garage, Claire. My garage. The place where I built our furniture, where I go to think, where I've spent countless hours creating things for our home. You turned it into your love nest. It wasn't like that. No? Then what was it like? Tell me about Tuesday afternoons. Tell me about the wine. Tell me about planning your future with Marcus in the space where I planned ours. She had no answer. Sunday, she moved into the guest room. Monday, the lawyers took over. The house would go to her, Alan had predicted correctly, but the mortgage would consume half her teaching salary. The RSUs remained mine, protected by timing. The cars, furniture, and debts divided with mathematical precision. You ruined my life, she said during our last conversation before I moved out. No, Claire, you ruined our life. I just refused to be the only one who didn't know about it. 6 months later, the divorce was final. I'd transferred to Microsoft's San Francisco office, accepting a promotion that came with a $500,000 salary and enough stock options to ensure I'd never have to worry about money again. The Bay Area sunshine felt like revelation after 20 years of Seattle gray. I started dating Sarah, a program manager from our sister team. She was brilliant, funny, and had a thing about radical honesty that I found refreshing. No hidden wine glasses with Sarah. No Tuesday afternoon secrets. Just truth, even when it hurt. Claire still taught at the same high school. The gossip mill had been brutal. In a suburban neighborhood, spectacular public humiliation traveled fast. Marcus had ghosted her completely, moving across town, starting over where the story of the video revelation hadn't reached. His ex-wife, who'd heard about the party through the robust suburban intelligence network, successfully petitioned for increased alimony based on his moral failures during the marriage. The house sold eventually, below market. Turns out public humiliation affected property values. The new owners were a young couple who'd gotten a deal because of the neighborhood drama. They turned the garage into an art studio, posting the renovation on Instagram with hashtags like #newbeginnings and #freshstart. That's your old house? Sarah asked one evening, looking over my shoulder at the photos. That's it. The garage looks nice as a studio. It does, I agreed. And it did. Bright, clean, purposeful. No hidden wine glasses or secret afternoons. Just space for creation instead of destruction. My phone buzzed. Tom from the old team, texting about a guy's weekend in Vegas. Real Vegas this time, not a hotel room in Bellevue watching my marriage implode. You should go, Sarah said, reading the text. When's the last time you did something just for fun? Define fun. Not planning elaborate revenge scenarios? That was one time. Epic time from what I heard. She kissed my cheek. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Maybe not the kindest thing, but the right thing. You think? She violated your trust, your space, your marriage. You just made sure everyone knew the truth. She shrugged. Sometimes the truth needs an audience. A year after the divorce, I flew back to Seattle for a conference. A real one this time. Driving through the old neighborhood felt like visiting a museum of my former life. The Starbucks where I'd reviewed the REI footage. The park where Claire and I had talked about children we'd never have. The garage that had witnessed the end of everything. I drove past the house now repainted in colors Claire would have hated. The garage door was open. A woman stood at an easel, painting, lost in creation. The space looked transformed, bright, purposeful, honest. My phone rang. Sarah calling from our Palo Alto condo. Flight still on time? Boarding in an hour. Good, I'm making that salmon you like. Sounds perfect. See you tonight. Love you, she said, easy and natural. Love you too. And I did. Differently than I'd loved Claire, maybe. Less desperate, more deliberate. Less assumption, more choice. Love built on truth rather than performance. The last time I'd stood in that garage, I discovered 2 wine glasses that changed everything. Such small things to end a marriage. But marriages don't really end with wine glasses. They end with choices. The choice to lie. The choice to betray. The choice to turn sacred spaces into crime scenes. I'd kept those glasses, packed carefully in a box marked evidence in my new garage, not as trophies or reminders of pain, but as proof that sometimes the smallest things reveal the biggest truths. That secrets hidden in garages have a way of coming to light. That every man's sanctuary deserves respect. Claire was wrong about one thing. I hadn't ruined her life. I'd simply revealed the life she'd already chosen. The public humiliation was just the interest on a loan she'd taken against our marriage. Payment finally come due in front of an audience of neighbors and ribs in suburban judgment. Was it cruel? Maybe. Was it justified? I thought so. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. Because some betrayals demand witnesses. Some lies need light. And some secrets, especially those hidden in a man's garage, deserve to be revealed on a 55-inch screen while the whole neighborhood watches. I flew home to California, to a woman who didn't lie, to a life built on truth instead of Tuesday afternoon deceptions. The wine glasses stayed in their box, evidence of a life I'd left behind. But the lessons they taught, about trust, about truth, about the importance of paying attention to small things, those I carried with me. After all, I was one of the good ones. That's why I deserved better. That's why I made sure I got it. Even if it took a neighborhood barbecue and a 55-inch TV to make it happen.